Greetings and welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we got another DK build. Okay, the Shattered Path Signet just came out. Everybody's playing it. You might have noticed it. You might have got one shot here and there. This is a Shattered Path Signet build, but it is not a ganker. Okay, this is not a gank build. This is a normal DK build, but it has a lot of firepower. It has a lot of burst, and it has a lot of sustained damage. And yeah, just want to share that with you. I don't even want to bore you too long with all my explanations here. So let's just get straight into it. Okay, so stats wise, a little over 30k health, 26k magicka, and 23k stamina. Pretty decent values. If you're not comfortable with like 30k health, you feel like you want more, you can, of course, invest a couple more resources into your health if that makes you more comfortable. I personally, I feel like I'm okay with 30k. Although in this meta, because you're gonna see a lot of one-shot builds, maybe having a little extra could be, could be good. But yeah, overall, I think for me personally, this is okay. Or if you want to play this as a more, glassy kind of build, maybe you want to drop your health down to 20 and invest the other resources more into Magicka so you're hitting harder or whatever. That's up to you. Basically, no regions because DK doesn't rely on any recoveries anymore ever since they buffed Inhale. So Inhale is all you're going to need to sustain. When it comes to weapon and spell damage, let me buff this up real quick. So we're sitting at like 6k weapon damage here, and this is without the back bar enchant, and this is without the Cyrodiil buff. So with all these, you're probably going to hit like 7k weapon damage. Pretty decent, I would say. The penetration, 6k on the front bar. Of course, we got the major breach, so that's going to get us up to like, what is it, like 12k-ish? So not too bad. And we also have Force of Nature on the CP side, so that's another 3k that you're going to get from that. So, I would say probably around like 15k penetration on this build. Not too shabby. Let's look at the resistances here. 27 spell, 26 physical. Not too shabby. That's on the back bar. And on the front bar, we're a little bit less. But yeah, that's decent. Honestly, for a pretty much a medium armor build, that's pretty decent armor, I would say. Critical resistance 1800, kind of box standard here. We're using the Bewitched Sugar Skulls because you just like in this meta, like with DK right now, you don't need any sustained food. You just go with like the food that gives you the most stats, right? And the health recovery, of course, on the Sugar Skulls are it doesn't really matter. In PvP, you're not gonna notice the health recovery at all. But having 4.6k on pretty much your resources and or like at least the health, and 4.2k on stamina and magicka, super nice. Really helps, just giving you that nice big pool, especially with, like I said, Inhale. It's all the sustain you're ever gonna need is gonna come out of Inhale. So yeah, that's pretty much it. We're Vampire stage 1. You don't have to be, but I'm using a Vampire ultimate. And I'm always Vampire. So if you're wondering why my builds, I'm always a Vampire and I'm not using Vampire skills, it's a lifestyle. Okay? It's not a phase, mom. Okay? That's a lifestyle. And then we got the Shadow as our Mundus here. You could go penetration. You could go weapon spell damage, whatever you like. I think penetration would probably be another one that would benefit you quite well here. But Shadow, pretty nice. Get those bigger crits. Pretty nice to have. Okay, let's look at the set. So what are we running? We're running Pyrebrand. Finally, another Pyrebrand build. I've tried it many times. It's a good set, but it's like not too great. But I think on this build, it works quite well. It kind of ties in with like the whole like idea of this build. So we're running Pyrebrand. I got it here, 3 on the body pieces, and then we got 2 for the weapons here. Front bar, Inferno Staff, back bar, Resto Staff, right? So we're going sharpen here on this one, and we're going defending here. You could, of course, go with infused, which is kind of like what I prefer, having an infused resto staff on the back bar just for the extra weapon damage that you can get from your enchant. But it doesn't really matter. Defending is really nice, and a lot of people prefer defending. If you don't, because technically you don't need a resto staff. You could just put on an ice staff if you wanted to. That would give you better blocking on the back bar, and it would also give you more armor. So if you wanted to stack the armor a little bit higher, Ice Staff would be a good option here. But I think we want an Inferno Staff definitely on the front bar. And You could go ice, but I think Inferno it has some synergies, it has some passives that benefit us quite well. And what I want is a staff that I can rip a heavy attack with, and not a channeled heavy attack like the lightning staff. I want something that kind of hits. Right? I want a nice big heavy attack that I can stack with other attacks to just create a nice little burst window. So that's why we're running this. The other set is Unleashed Terror, kind of a longtime favorite of mine. It's just a good bleed set. It doesn't give you the burst, but Pyrebrand's going to help you with the burst. Pyrebrand's also going to help you with some extra damage over time, and this one is going to help you with more damage over time, which kind of ties into the whole damage over time status effect kind of build. So, why Pyrebrand? So light attacks deal flame damage over 6 seconds, right? And then fully charged heavy attacks consumes up to 3 of your damage over time effects, which you're always going to have because you can easily put them on through your light attacks on Pyrebrand and putting status effects on people. And then, of course, we have the Unleashed Terror, which puts a bleed on people. So it's very easy to just keep the dots on people and then rip a heavy attack, consume the 3 dots, and then deal a lot of damage to these people. And yeah, that's pretty much why we're using Pyrebrand. Gives us the damage over time, plus gives us some nice burst option as well. And then of course Unleashed, when you deal direct damage with basically a gap closer, in this case the DK chains, you're putting the bleed on, and the bleed will apply the hemorrhaging status effects with every tick, which is super good because the hemorrhaging status effect can stack 3 times, right? And every time it does 25% more damage. So that's gonna be very easy on with a set like this, because you're gap closing someone, you put the bleed on, the bleed ticks, and will apply the hemorrhaging status effect every tick. So yeah, very easy to just load up on some damage over time, load up on some status effects. So yeah, then we're using Shattered Path Signet, of course, the new one here. Increase your damage done with status effects by 1%. For every 1 ultimate you have, up to 170%. So at 170 ultimate, you're gonna have this maxed out, and then you're gonna do the max damage with your status effects. And yeah, and when you have 170 or more ultimate, light and heavy attacks apply a random status effect, which is nice. I've been told that this will pick a status effect that is not currently on the target. So that will help you kind of max out the amount of different status effects that you have on a target, which is really nice. And then it applies minor timidity to you, consuming 1 ultimate every 1.5 seconds while in combat. This doesn't really matter too much because you're going to be gaining ultimate anyway, casting and attacking. So yeah, that's not going to really matter too much. So yeah, this is what gives us the status effect damage. A lot of people are using this right now. It's very strong with certain setups. We're not using the exploity kind of setups that some people use, because I like to play clean builds. I don't like to exploit. If that's more your style, then I guess you won't find that kind of stuff here, but you should probably do it anyway. We got infused here on the jewelry with weapon and spell damage and chance. Whatever you want to put on, doesn't really matter because they both give the same weapon spell damage. The only difference is, the weapon damage ones give you a little bit of stamina recovery, and the spell damage ones give you a little bit of magical recovery. Doesn't matter on this build at all, absolutely. And on most builds, it wouldn't really matter because it's so low. So put on whatever you want, weapon or spell damage, but have them on and have them with infused. When it comes to like other stuff, this is kind of like random stuff here because I had to kind of mix and match. This is well fitted, this infused impan, whatever. Optimally, you want impan, although we've been thinking about how important impan is these days, because I've been hearing a lot of people say that maybe impan's time is over. Maybe you're going to be better off running other stuff right now. But for the time being, I think impan is still a solid choice, right? So we're running 1 Balor too, just to kind of fill in the 1 monster set piece here, because it gives us some weapon and spell damage. You could put something else here if you want it, but I think weapon spell damage just goes a long way, because both these sets scale with the weapon and spell damage. So I think that's kind of what you want. And yeah, that's pretty much the gear. 5 Pyrebrand, 5 Unleashed, got 1 Balor, got 1 Shattered Path. Let's look at the skills here. First one, Fleet Stab Wings. So this is your speed buff, and it gives you 50% damage mitigation for projectiles. I don't think it matters much. especially in this meta where a lot of people will just one-shot you anyway, even if you have the wings up. So that's not really what we're using them for. The speed buff and the knockback that you get from those wings is super, super nice. Of course, if you feel more comfortable using Fossilize, you can do that. I personally really prefer the really quick, snappy AoE knockback because it's good for offense and it's good for defense. You get Pylon, you can knock people back. You can potentially knock people off of a wall or something, or you can basically set up a combo with that, right? You just knock them back and then you just unleash the combo on them. Really prefer this one over Fossilize, so that's what it's there for. The next one is Elemental Susceptibility. This is basically what you're going to be using from range. You're probably going to spam this because it does a lot of damage every time you click this. This is a free skill, by the way. This is free. It has a lot of range. It's going to apply Major Breach, and it's going to apply the Burning, Chilled, and Concussion status effect every time you cast it. Or if you don't recast it, every 7.5 seconds, it's going to auto-apply that. But you can just spam this. Like I said, it's free. It's not going to cost you anything. You can just spam this on people, and they will take a lot of damage. You kind of want to weave in the light or heavy attacks if you can. And for me, I usually open up with a heavy attack into Elemental Susceptibility because that's just a big damage splat. We're going to get the heavy attack damage. We're going to get the Pyrebrand damage. We're going to get some instant burning proc on him, usually. And then the Elemental Susceptibility hits, and you get another burning and chilled and concussion. And then you also get the enchant from your weapon, which I'm using poison. I forgot to say that. I'm using poison on the weapon. You can use others, but I use poison because I don't have poison anywhere else. Of course, your Signet can still apply poison randomly when you're at 170 ultimate or higher. But yeah, so this is basically what you're gonna spam at range. And then of course we got Molten Whip. This is your up close is gonna hit really hard once you have it charged up. I'm not using the other one because the other one requires off balance targets, and I don't feel comfortable like relying on it. Now DK has easy off balance from just heavy attacks, so if you want to use that, you can absolutely do that. That would work well. But I kind of like this just because I can kind of pre-buff it and have it ready, and I don't have to have a target that is off balance, right? I can just like whatever target I'm gonna hit, I'm gonna hit hard. So that's what that is for, basically. The next one's super important, Chains of Devastation. That's your gap closer. I think this is very, very important to have, just in general. A gap closer, I don't really like playing builds that don't have a gap closer. Being able to just get close to your target is really nice. And I prefer the one that pulls you to the target, not the target to you, because I want to go places. And I feel like there's more interesting plays that you can make with that than just pulling people. Because here's the thing. You can pull people once, and then they're gonna have CC immunity, and then you can't pull them again. Right? So if you can't capitalize on your pull, they're gonna be CC immune. You're not gonna pull them anymore. And then basically the other chains are kind of useless. Where here you're gonna stay with the target. Target streaks away, you hit them with another chains. Streaks away again, hit him with another chains. Right? You can just keep going to the target, which I really prefer. It's gonna do some flame damage. It's gonna give you major berserk, super super nice. Major evasion, also really nice. And it's gonna proc the Unleash Terror set, right? It's gonna put the bleed damage on him, and then the bleed damage is gonna tick and create more hemorrhaging status effects on them. So super nice to have. You want to make sure you always put that on. Very easy to do. You know, just chain in, boom, you put the fucking bleeds on and they tick away, and then you can do whatever you want. Next one is a scribed skill, Pestilent Soul. So this is disease damage, then disease damage over 10 seconds, and then major defile. So why have I chosen this? Well, mostly because I don't really have another source of disease. Of course, the Signet at 170 would eventually give me some disease status effects randomly. But since I have other status effects that I don't have covered on this build, I thought I can easily cover the disease and can make this really strong. Because normal disease damage has the chance to proc minor defile, right? And then we get major defile on top. So minor defile, I think, is like 6% healing reduction and shield strength reduction. And this puts major defile on as well, which is 12%. So you're ending up with 18% healing reduction and shield strength reduction, which is super, super valuable. I can tell you, using this on a target, I can literally tell that they're like easier to kill. Because sometimes I forget to put this on and I keep fighting them like, oh man, this guy's so tanky. And then I'm like, oh, what am I doing? I haven't used my Pestilent Soul yet. And I'll throw that on and it's just night and day. I can just tell. All of a sudden the health goes down. Because now their healing is cut enough for me to actually burst through. And so I really think this is a very important skill. It hits quite hard on people. You put that disease damage over time on, another dot, which helps with your Pyrebrand, and the major and the minor of the file is just super good. So I really like this. I think I'm going to use this on a lot of builds. This feels good. The next one is Dawnbreaker Smiting. Now, why am I not using Leap? Because technically you're not supposed to use your ultimates with this build. Of course you can. If you see a situation where an ultimate is beneficial, I think you should go for it. You shouldn't like cling on to your 170 ultimate or more just so you get more status effect damage, because this is not a gank build. You're a normal build. You're supposed to fight out there, and it's supposed to be a normal organic build. So if you see fit, use your ultimates. Dawnbreaker's not bad. Honestly, it ain't bad. The main reason I have it on is because we get 3% extra weapon and spell damage for just having it slotted through the Undaunted passives here, right? Or is it? Not Undaunted, the Fighter's Guild passives. This one here. Increase weapon spell damage by 3% for Fighter's Guild ability slotted. So you can put more on if you wanted to. If maybe you want to use Dazing Torch for whatever reason. But yeah, you get like a little bit extra weapon and spell damage, which is nice. But if you wanted to, put on whatever you want, but that's up to you. But like I said, most of the time, you're probably not gonna want to use the ultimate unless, you really have an opportunity here. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Back bar. Blood of the Elder Dragon. This is your bread and butter heal. It heals for tons. I think DK heals are busted. I think DKs need to be nerfed in a lot of ways, but especially the healing is really, really busted. This thing is so potent. It hits so hard. It heals like sometimes for like, I don't know, 20k or something. It's just insane. 20k off of just one button click. I don't know about it, Zenimax. This seems a little much. Anyway, also, what's really nice about this one, you get minor courage, right? So you're going to get your weapon and spell damage up by another 215. Super, super good skill, right? Like defense and offense in one. I love that. So yeah, you definitely need this one. Don't do green dragon blood or anything. This is the one you want. Next one is Incinerate, which is in conjunction basically with Heart of Flame. These two kind of go together. You kind of want to use them together. Incinerate is basically while slotted on either bar, you get your major crit buff, which is important. But this also helps you set up burst windows, right? You put this up, and then after 5 seconds, this thing basically goes off and, explodes and deals a good amount of damage. And you want to combine this with Heart of Flame. This is, of course, as I said, Inhale is super good for sustain because it restores 18% of your missing health and 15% of your missing magic on stamina. So the lower your bars, the more you get out of it, to a point where you can basically not run out of magic on stamina. Really, it's so strong. It's kind of crazy. And then, of course, after 4 seconds, it explodes and deals a good amount of flame damage. And as you can tell, this one's 5 seconds until it explodes. This one is 4 seconds until it explodes. So the way you want to use this, you want to use this first, Incinerate, then you want to cast Heart of Flame, and you kind of want to wait just a little bit, cast this, just wait just teeny tiny bit, then cast this, and then they will basically go off at the same time, right? Because this one has already been cast, this one's already been taken for like a second, then you put this one on, and then they both have 4 seconds left, and they're going to go off both at the same time, which can add a ton of extra damage. Depending on the target, this can be anywhere between 6 and I want to say 15k, depending on the target. Depending on whether you crit, depending on how squishy the target is. But this, like if this crits on a squishier target, this is basically half their health bar, just these two. And you don't have to worry about them. You just put them on, and then you go in and you fight normally, and then they just go off, and that's just free extra damage. And if you time this with an ultimate or like a charged whip, you're dealing a ton of damage. So really, really nice. That's kind of how you want to do it, right? Put this one on first, put that one on, then go in, do your thing. Make sure you're still close to the target because they have a limited range, of course. And then they go off and deal a ton of extra damage. Super, super nice. Next one is Shatter Spike Mantle. That's basically your armor buff. But you also increase your damage done by 100, which is very nice for a status effect build. And you deal some flame damage over 20 seconds to people that you hit. You know, another dot that you can utilize with your Pyrebrand set. And then you have the landslide, which is, let me read that because I always forget what the landslide passive really does. So landslide, given time, the smallest rock on the mountain can cascade into pure devastation. Nice AI slop there, ZeniMax. Whenever you deal damage, you gain a stack of landslide, which increases your damage done by 1% per stack, up to 10 times. This effect can occur once every 5 seconds, so it takes a moment to build up. But yeah, you just get some extra damage, and this one, you gain a stack of landslide up to once every 10 seconds. So I assume, I don't know if this bypasses the 5 seconds of cooldown off landslide, if that like kind of, you know, slides in, if you will. But yeah, this is gonna just help you get the landslide passives up. And then this one, Molten Armaments. This is your weapon spell damage buff. It gives you Empower, which is not needed, at least in PvP. But if you want to use this in PvE, this is definitely going to benefit you here. And then also the new version of Molten Armaments, while active, dealing damage with light and heavy attacks causes additional flame damage up to once every 1.5 seconds, which is kind of nice. This is like another flame damage proc. So DKs are going to have a lot of burning status effects going on because all their attacks do flame damage and they can all proc the burning status effect. And, you know, you have a fire staff, which you're going to be doing, you know, flame damage when you do a heavy attack. And then your Pyrebrand's going to do, you know, you hit him with a light attack, it's going to apply a flame dot that can do burning. And then the heavy attack's going to do the big AoE explosion, which is also able to proc burning. And then you have your Molten Armaments that's going to also apply extra flame damage that can also apply burning. So you see there's just tons of sources that can all play together and basically all like hit at the same time. That's why sometimes you see up to like 3 burning procs in just 1 second. You know, if you do it right, you can basically hit your target with 3 burning procs, in addition to whatever else you have going on, right? But just having the 3 extra burning procs, which are going to be amplified by your Signet, really, really nice. And then our ultimate on the back bar, Swarming Scion. Now, why am I not using Corrosive? Isn't everyone using Corrosive? Pretty much. And that's why I'm not using it, because I'm a special snowflake, okay? I like to feel good about myself. No, I'm using it because I'm kind of tired of using Corrosive. I'm just, it bores the crap out of me using this skill. I just want to use something else. I kind of found that Swarming Sign, it seems to just, I don't know, it benefits me more. You're not going to get the penetration, of course, but that's also not why we're using it. This is basically, if you're really getting pressured, you're going to heal to full, right? You're going to increase your health, magicka, stamina by like 10k. So you're going to get pretty tanky. You're going to have more damage, and you're going to heal to full. And during the transformation animation, you can't take damage. So that can be really nice to kind of absorb a lot of damage when you see it coming. And then you deal a lot of damage around you, and you're going to heal for a percentage of it, which is really nice. It's kind of like the old Bat Swarm, not quite as good, but I do miss Bat Swarm, and that's why I'm always like drawn to stuff like this. It just makes you stay in the fight a little bit longer. And I feel like this is a little bit better than Corrosive in a lot of aspects, especially that healing coming in if you're standing in a pile of people. I feel like that healing is quite nice, and even though you don't have the damage reduction that Corrosive would give you, in a lot of cases this feels better. The damage is not quite as high as Corrosive, but it still is a decent amount of damage. It's going to support you. But of course, if you want to use Corrosive or anything else, you go ahead. This one's also kind of expensive, which is, you know, a little bit of an issue. And you're not going to gain any ultimate when you're in the transformation. So for 20 seconds, no new ultimate. Okay, you're going to consume all your ultimate, and you're going to be sitting at 0 ultimate until this is over, which is a major downside. And that's why I think a lot of people are probably not going to go for this. So yeah, use whatever you feel comfortable with. I do enjoy using it, but I wish it was a little bit better. Yeah, that's the skills. Let's look at the champion points. Of course, really important. Gifted Rider, War Mount, Sustaining Shadow, Steed's Blessing. Now just put on what you want. Green Tree is kind of a joke, but you know, having the mount passives here, little extra sneak speed and some extra movement speed here. It's probably the best thing you can pick, in my opinion. And when it comes to the blue tree, Fighting Finesse, Backstabber, those are going to increase your critical damage. Force of Nature, increase your offensive penetration by 660 for every status effect your target has. Now, this is not unlimited, okay? I think this is limited to 5 status effects, which is going to max you out at a little over 3k extra penetration. But 3k extra penetration that's basically another sharpened trait on top, right? So that's pretty decent. I would still say Force of Nature is really nice, but it's not necessary. Like if you want to go for whatever other damage passes you want, do it. But I think that extra penetration, especially with a build that has status effects out the wazoo, very easy access to it. Yeah, go for it. Go for it. That's just free and easy damage that you can get. And then we got Thaumaturge here. Increase your damage done with damage over time effects because we have a lot of dots. But of course, direct damage would work just as well on this one. So you choose which one you want. They're not going to make or break the build. You know, they're just going to emphasize different things that you want. And then of course you take everything else that is, that is always on. And then over here, Boundless Vitality, Survival Instincts, Fortified, and Pain's Refuge. So Boundless, just of course increasing your health. Survival Instincts, while afflicted with a status effect, you're always going to have status effects on you. Okay? When you're in combat, this is going to be active because you're going to have status effects on you. This was always the case, and now it's even more so the case. So you're always going to have status effects. This is always going to be on. 25% cost reduction for your core combat skills. What are core combat skills? Well, there's stuff like dodging and blocking. Sprinting probably too, I assume. I think breaking free too. But the main thing is really the block and dodge. It's going to make this very, very cheap for you to use. So I think this is really valuable. So yeah, use that. Next one, Fortified, just increasing your armor, of course. You've seen we have a good amount of armor. And the next one, Pain's Refuge. For every negative effect on you, this increases to 20%, a damage reduction. And yeah, this is going to make you pretty tanky once you have a lot of negative effects on you, which status effects count as negative effects. So, this is going to benefit you massively with this meta. And that's the build, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you like it. Give it a try. I really like it. I'm going to leave you with a couple of clips here. It's not too terribly much because Cyrodiil is incredibly dead right now. I assume everyone is playing something else these days. So yeah, unfortunately not a ton of PvP going on when I'm streaming. But yeah, I'll leave you with a couple of clips. You can see this thing in action. Give it a try. It's fun to play. I really enjoy this playstyle because it's not, it's not the typical DK, but it's also not the typical like cold skanker or whatever. So yeah, really up my alley. I hope you like it. If so, like and subscribe, leave a comment. I'll be back with another video soon. Take it easy. Bye-bye. All right. Try again, dude. And he died in Invis. What are these? What are these loser builds? You fuck up your gank and then you die to dots while you're invisible. I mean, they're definitely struggling once I put my shit on. Once I put the shit on, they're definitely struggling, that's for sure. Oh yeah, get down there, boys. Get down there. Oh man, that was funny. Okay, I see how it is.